Welcome to the Velvet Verdict. We're a hybrid team, human hearts and AI minds working together. Our human writers bring lived experience, AI helps organize patterns, keeping us grounded in facts with warmth. We value data, but we believe healing happens when we stop pointing fingers and start looking inward. A quiet tension lives in our homes right now. We sit across from loved ones, bodies in the same room, minds drifting through screens or the noise of our worries. This isn't blame, it's the reality of modern life. Digital convenience eases life but creates distance, even when we're right next to each other. Screens offer escape but become walls we build without realizing. Men and women alike are feeling this pull. We're tired, we're distracted, and sometimes we just don't know how to bridge the gap back to the person sitting beside us. We want to invite you to sit with this discomfort for a moment. Not to fix it immediately, but to acknowledge it. This isolation isn't a failure of character, it's a wound we're all navigating. Whether you're a man feeling the pressure to perform, or a woman feeling unheard, or vice versa, the ache is real. We hold space for the frustration and the longing, knowing that beneath the noise, we all crave the same deep, authentic bond. Healing starts when we admit that we're all trying to find our way back to each other. We're here to explore how we can rebuild the quiet courage to truly see each other again, to put down the shields, close the tabs, and reconnect. This isn't therapy, and we aren't prescribing a cure. We're offering a direction, a compassionate perspective on how we might heal the habits that keep us isolated. Let's walk this path together, with both doors open and grace for where we've all been. Though, we arrive at the heart of it, the quiet ache that hums beneath the scrolling and the silence. When we're sitting shoulder to shoulder, but our minds are miles away, what is really happening? We're asking ourselves why we retreat to the glow of a screen when, deep down, we are starving for the warmth of a hand to hold. Men and women alike reach for the digital escape, often because vulnerability feels risky, or the world's noise is too loud without a buffer. We retreat to protect the soft parts of ourselves, mistaking safety for solitude. But what does this cost us when presence becomes optional? It's not just about lost minutes, it's about the slow erosion of the bridge between us. When we treat attention as a commodity to be hoarded, rather than a gift to be shared, we starve the very connection we crave. We build walls of glass, transparent enough to see through, yet solid enough to keep us apart. The cost is a loneliness that crowds even the full room, a sense that we are known only in fragments or not at all. This isn't about assigning blame for a missed call or a late-night scroll, it's about recognizing the shared wound. We are all learning how to be present, in a world that rewards distraction. The question isn't who failed first, it's how we can rebuild the quiet courage to truly see each other again, to lower the shields just enough to let the real world back in. We're looking for the path back to each other, not the exit. We choose connection. It's the way home. What the data shows, the loneliness baseline. To find that path back, we first need to look at the landscape we're walking through. The numbers tell a story of a quiet ache that's growing louder, touching us all. Gallup's daily polling reveals that 1 in 5 U.S. adults, roughly 52 million people, reported feeling lonely, a lot of the day, just yesterday. This isn't a distant statistic, it's a shared reality for millions of us right now. The isolation cuts deep across groups. Among younger men, the struggle is particularly sharp. Gallup data shows 25% of men aged 15 to 34 felt lonely a lot the previous day, a higher share than young women at 18%. Both genders are spending more time alone. Our World in Data tracks that Americans aged 15 to 29 spent about 45% more time alone in 2023 compared to 2010, jumping from roughly 4 hours a day to 6. This surge cuts across life stages. Harvard's Making Caring Common reports that 61% of young adults aged 18 to 25 are experiencing serious loneliness, feeling it frequently or almost all the time. This weight extends beyond youth. The same research highlights that 51% of mothers with young children also report serious loneliness. These figures don't assign blame, they map the baseline of our collective isolation. They show us that the distance between us has widened, whether we're navigating early adulthood or the demands of raising a family. Seeing this shared struggle helps lower our shields. When we realize loneliness is woven through so many lives, we can stop viewing our own distance as a personal failure and start seeing it as common ground where healing can begin. The data holds up a mirror, not to judge, but to help us understand the terrain so we can find our way back to each other. The data shows, the screen barrier in intimacy. That mirror reveals a quiet paradox. We are more connected than ever, yet that very connectivity often pulls us apart when we share a room. 41% of U.S. adults report using the internet almost constantly, and that digital hum easily spills into our closest relationships. In romantic partnerships, 51% of Americans in a relationship say their partner is at least sometimes distracted by their cell phone during a conversation, including 16% who say it happens often. The pattern holds steady across age groups, as 62% of partnered adults between 30 and 49 report the same distraction when trying to talk. It is not just about the device itself. 24% of partnered Americans admit feeling at least sometimes bothered by how much time their partner spends scrolling through social media. This drift isn't confined to the bedroom or the living room. When we gather with friends or family, 89% of cell phone owners say they used their phone during their most recent social gathering, and 86% notice someone else doing the same. We know this fractures the moment too. 82% of adults agree that phone use at gatherings at least occasionally hurts the conversation and the atmosphere. The numbers do not point to a crisis of character, but to a shared habit of looking down when we should be looking up. Both men and women carry the weight of this quiet absence, often mistaking a glowing screen for a safe place to rest. The direction forward is gentle but deliberate. We can treat presence as a practice rather than a perfection. By noticing when our attention slips, we can quietly set the device down and turn our full gaze toward the person in front of us. Healing begins not by shaming the habit, but by choosing again and again to let the quiet courage of showing up replace the comfort of scrolling. What the data shows, gendered patterns of connection and distraction. When we look closely at how attention drifts, the numbers reveal a quiet asymmetry in how we experience digital distance. Research shows women are more likely than men to say they are often bothered by the amount of time their partner spends on their cell phone, with 16% reporting this compared to just 8% of men. This isn't about fault, it's a window into how emotional bandwidth is spent. The gap widens when we consider where we carry our heaviest thoughts. 54% of women turn to a friend for emotional support versus 38% of men. These patterns don't paint either side as broken. They simply show that men and women often navigate loneliness and distraction through different emotional pathways, and both pathways deserve gentle attention. The ripple effect of this divided focus reaches beyond romantic partnerships. Nearly half of teens report that their parent is at least sometimes distracted by their phone when they are trying to talk. Meanwhile, teen girls are more likely than boys to feel they spend too much time on their smartphone, with 44% acknowledging this compared to 33% of boys. What the data describes is a shared cultural habit, not a gendered failing. Screens offer a predictable refuge when conversations feel heavy or uncertain. Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward rebuilding presence. When women carry the weight of unspoken expectations and men navigate the quiet pressure to self-rely, both can benefit from naming the distraction without judgment. The healing direction here is simple but profound. We can honor the different ways we seek comfort while gently expanding our capacity to sit with each other in the quiet. By acknowledging where our attention naturally drifts, we create space to turn back, not out of obligation, but from a place of mutual care. Through our hybrid lens of human experience and careful data review, we see that the numbers show us where we've drifted. Our shared humanity shows us how to return. We have to look at what's pulling us apart before we can bridge the gap. It isn't a failure of character in men or women, it's a collision of ancient wiring and modern pressures. First, there's the quiet fear of vulnerability. For many, the screen feels safer than the silence. It offers a buffer where we don't have to risk being misunderstood or rejected. This isn't a choice to withdraw, it's a reflex of self-protection, a shield raised when the world feels too loud or too sharp. When we've been hurt or feel overwhelmed, retreating behind a glass pane can feel like the only way to keep our emotional balance. We see this in both partners, each guarding their heart in the only way they know how, often without realizing the door has closed. Then there's the pull of the algorithm. Our devices are engineered to capture attention, flooding our brains with dopamine hits that are hard to resist. This isn't a moral failing, it's biology meeting design. The scroll rewards us with instant novelty, making the slow, rich work of connection feel heavy by comparison. We aren't losing our love, we're competing with machines built to win, draining the patience we need at home. Finally, the pace of modern life leaves little room for rest. Exhaustion makes us grab for the easiest comfort, and often, that's the screen. When we're drained, the energy required to truly see another person can feel out of reach. This isn't neglect, it's depletion. We are all navigating a world that demands more of our time than we have to give. Recognizing these drivers, the fear, the design, the fatigue, helps us stop judging each other and start understanding the currents that sweep us away. Healing begins when we realize we aren't fighting each other, we're both trying to survive the same storm, and that shared struggle is the ground where we can meet again. When we look closer, we see that the silence between us isn't malice, it's exhaustion wearing a mask. For many men, the struggle to articulate need becomes a reflex, bracing against a world that feels demanding yet disconnected. It's not that the words don't exist. The noise of the fractured attention economy makes vulnerability feel like a risk too great to take. The withdrawal isn't a rejection. It's often a desperate attempt to conserve energy in an environment that drains it faster than it can be replenished. Women often carry the heavy load of emotional labor, stepping in to manage chaos when attention is scattered. This burden isn't born of control, but of care, stretched thin by the same relentless currents. She may have learned that holding space for connection keeps the relationship from drifting apart, even when she feels invisible doing it. Her frustration isn't an indictment of your worth. It's the ache of someone who has been running on empty, trying to anchor a ship in a storm. Both of these patterns, his retreat and her overextension, are adaptive responses to the same pressure. They are survival strategies, not character flaws. When we recognize this, the dynamic shifts. We stop seeing his quietness as indifference and her vigilance as nagging. Instead, we see two people trying to protect what matters, using the tools they found available in a broken system. Healing starts when we name these adaptations with grace. We can invite him to speak without fear that his need will be dismissed, and we can support her in setting down the load without guilt. The direction isn't to fix each other, but to create a safe harbor where the armor can finally come off, and we can just be present, together. Rebuilding that presence doesn't demand grand gestures or a complete overhaul of who you are. It begins in the quiet moments, the spaces between the noise where we can choose to turn toward one another. Social science reminds us that connection is a muscle, not a magic spell. It strengthens through repetition, not perfection. For him, this might look like pausing before stepping into the driver's seat of his thoughts, asking, "What do I need right now?" and sharing that simply. For her, it could mean noticing the urge to carry the mental load and gently handing it over, trusting the space you've built together. These aren't fixes, they are invitations. They are small, intentional practices that say, "I am here, and I see you." We acknowledge our hybrid nature as human and AI, and we offer this perspective with humility. This is social science reflection grounded in the patterns of human behavior, not clinical therapy. We are not prescribing a cure, nor are we replacing the vital work of a licensed professional. If the weight of isolation feels crushing, or if the distance between you feels like a chasm you cannot bridge alone, please seek the support of a qualified counselor or therapist. They hold the tools for deep healing when the path gets dark. Here, we simply point the way back to each other. Start small. Put the phone down for 5 minutes. Ask a question and actually listen to the answer. Touch a hand without an agenda. These micro moments of attention are the bricks that rebuild the bridge. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing to try again and again with grace. The courage to see each other returns not in a flash, but in the steady rhythm of showing up day after day, choosing presence over distraction and kindness over judgment. So where do we go from here? We return to that quiet space between us, the one we've been neglecting while scrolling in silence. Our mission is simple. Help us reconnect by healing the habits that keep us isolated. That work isn't done by one side fixing the other. It's a shared journey. Whether you're a man or a woman, the hurt is real, and the path back starts with mutual curiosity. Curiosity is a posture of the heart. It says, "I value your inner world even when I'm tired." Instead of asking, "Why are you doing this?" try asking, "What are you carrying?" That shift changes everything. It moves us from accusation to understanding. When we approach each other with grace, we lower the defenses that turn living rooms into battlegrounds. The person across from us isn't the enemy, they're a fellow traveler navigating the same noise. Grace means forgiving the missteps because we all stumble when we're learning to be present again. It's the soft landing that keeps us from walking away. Healing doesn't mean erasing the past or pretending the distance didn't exist. It means building a new rhythm, one where presence is the gift we give and receive. It's about creating a safe harbor where both of you can land, without fear of being judged for the weight you've been holding. This is the direction we're pointing toward, a world where we see each other fully, flaws and all, and choose to stay. You have the tools. You have the willingness. Now it's just about taking that next small step together. Open the door, invite curiosity in, and let the healing begin. This episode was crafted by a human writer and AI collaborator, working together to bring you this perspective.